guys, welcome back. It's Josh with the Financial Advisor Car Guy. This week we're going to do a quick do-it-yourself video on how to install side skirts. Now every car is going to be a little different. They all have different shapes, different functions. Some are 2-door, some are 4-door, whatever the case may be, but generically they all install the same way. So I'm going to show you the before and after. I've already done the driver's side skirt and I'm going to attempt to do the passenger side one here in a moment, but I'm not going to do it live on video. I'm going to basically show you what it looks like before, and then we're going to walk around to the other side of the car, and I'm going to show you how it went on and what I had to do to make it fit. Now, obviously, the very first thing you want to do is make sure that your side skirt is designed for your vehicle and that it's going to fit without causing any fitment problems or damage. What I'm about to show you on the driver's side is that the driver door wouldn't actually close all the way. And part of the reason for that is this ABS plastic that this is. It's so thick. I had to sand it down in a couple of spots using an electric sander. And I haven't yet done that to this passenger side one, but I'm going to show you what I mean. But obviously here you can kind of see that from just looking at it, again, you know, the shape obviously flows with the body of the car. You're going to see the fender well on the front and the back. You know, these kind of line up pretty well. Obviously doing this one-handed and holding a phone is not going to be easy, but roughly that's kind of what it'll look like. And so you want to make sure first and foremost it's the right vehicle. Then you want to kind of take a look at mounting points. Now again, this is a completely raw skirt. So it doesn't have any holes drilled. It's never been mounted. And actually that might not be true. It had some double-sided sticky tape on the backside that may have at one point been used to attach this to a vehicle for a mock test fit. But I've since peeled all that off, and we'll look at that in a moment. But yeah, you can kind of see you get to pick and choose where you drill those holes for mounting. So generally speaking, if we start at the front, you probably want 1 or 2 kind of up at the top and then maybe midway, depending on where your bolts line up on the backside of your car or on the backside of your fender. You obviously want a couple of support screws along the bottom, along the door sill. Probably want maybe 1 or 2 along this edge, which kind of, I'll open the door here, which kind of line up, you know, about here and here, something like that. And then potentially double-sided sticky tape along here so that when it's on the car, it's pressed firm against the paint and you're not gonna have a bunch of debris and junk getting down in there. And then just like the front, you probably want one up top or a securing bolt up top, potentially in the middle and down at the bottom, which again, line up with the fender here. So I think my driver's side one, I've got 7 screws in. It's just test fitting on there now. I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna sand it, prime it, paint it, and then reinstall. But I wanted to make sure it fit nice first. So I'm gonna walk you around to the other side and we're gonna take a look. On this side of the car, you can see that the driver's side skirt has already been installed. Now, much like I said on the other side, there is a mounting screw up here at the top. There isn't one, but there will be one down about 1/3 of the way up from the bottom, something like that, or 1/4 of the way up from the bottom, because that's where the bottom of the stock fender ends. Then inside the door well or channel here, I've got 1 screw here, 1 in the middle, 1 here. I'll open the door and you can kind of see I did use 2 here and here. And then back here, I've got 1 down towards the bottom and 1 up towards the top, which actually isn't in all the way right now because I couldn't get the angle right with the tire on there. But anyway, I didn't use my double-sided adhesive, but this is what I'm talking about. There's a little bit of a channel in here that can and should be sealed up. And then before I do my final install, I have some silver mesh that's gonna cover this hole, much like my front bumper. But yeah, you can kind of see actually some residual residue and whatnot, but you can kind of see I just used some screws to fasten everything together. Now here, this is obviously much more rough than the rest. This is what I was talking about, and I actually hit the metal here. But when I close the door, if you guys watch closely here, I'll just, yeah, see now there's a little bit of a gap here that wasn't there before. And actually what I can tell you that you can't see right now is that the door is not closed all the way. Now the door is closed all the way and you can tell there's quite a bit more space here and the gap gets even tighter. I'm trying to line that up so you can see, but you know, really I'm gonna have to sand that down quite a bit more. It's kind of tight right here. You can sort of see that. It's really tight, or this is where the problem was to begin with, where the door panel kind of merges in a little bit right there for the body line. For whatever reason, that is a really tight spot on the skirt. So I'm gonna have to continue to massage this and sand it down a little bit further. Yeah. But the door does close if I push it hard enough. See, once again, it didn't close all the way. There it is. And that's gonna be a problem. Obviously it's gonna rub. You can see here, it kind of rubbed. I had sanded that down a little bit, but before it was rubbing a little bit there. And so it's not a perfect fit. But again, these are ABS plastic and they can be heated and molded and bent and folded and kind of contoured the way you want them to be. So I think the factory recommends you leave them out in the sun for an hour or two before you even test fit. And then of course you want to use a flexible paint primer, something that has some sort of, you know, a bonding primer or something that has some sort of adhesion promotion in it. Because with these skirts being somewhat flexible, here you can see, you know, yeah, they're flexible. You don't want to, you don't want to apply paint just to have them chip off and look gross minutes after you put them on or the next day. Or the first time you go over a speed bump and something flexes, you're gonna see cracked paint. So that's the last thing you want. You wanna use an adhesive promotion or a promoter. And you can find that pretty easily online. You can go to Walmart, Home Depot carries some, any auto parts store will also carry it. And so you use a primer and then of course color match the way you want it. And we're gonna get that done here before too long. Now, the last piece I wanted to show you guys is simply that, you know, the back side of this can, as I mentioned, use a double-sided adhesive. Now this is roughly cleaned up. The other side looks better, but there was, you know, an adhesive strip all the way across there, basically along all the edges. And I have, you know, since scraped that off with the razor blade. I'll go back over it with the sander and just kind of clean it up a little bit more. And I can always use more, but the issue that I found is that, you know, that double-sided adhesive, the automotive grade stuff that's pretty strong, it tends to close any gaps. So let me do this. Let me run around back over here. And if I'm using this gap as my example, okay? If I had double-sided adhesive tape underneath this, I'd have to sand off another probably 1/8 of an inch because now I've got that thick tape under there that's in theory gonna cause a problem. So I would not recommend using it in some spots, but you know what? I mean, along here, I could use it. Again, I'm gonna use it where there's gaps and where maybe moisture or water can run. Now, granted, water can run down there just fine because all it's gonna do is you can see right through to the floor. There's nothing that's gonna get trapped. No water's gonna get in there and rust, anything at all, especially because the skirt is plastic. So you don't have to worry too much about that, but still, you don't want a lot of gross debris and stuff scratching the paint and getting stuck inside these crevices. So like here's another one where I would, you know, use adhesive tape and probably down here too, because this is there you go, see? So I would use that adhesive tape here and here. But gosh, that's about it, guys. Once they're fit, you can kind of, again, massage them. You can make them flare out as much as you want to. Here, let me give you an example here. On the back, see, this is flared out a little bit further than the tire is. I'm gonna actually fix that, and I'm gonna actually push that in a little bit and then secure a screw. But again, because I had the wheel and tire on, I couldn't really get a screw in there far enough to do it correctly. So this is kind of a test fit. And then you can see on the front, and I'll just do it from right here, the front's much more flush. I mean, this corner does stick out just a touch, but not a lot. And that's part of the flare of the body. You know, the front bumper kind of does the same thing. So that's the body line there. And then, yeah, you can kind of see the back of the skirt does extend out past the tire quite a bit. So I'll get that fixed up a little bit, and then we'll mount up the rear bumper eventually. But that, my friends, is how you install side skirts. So if you guys have any questions, comment down below. Please remember to like and subscribe. But most importantly, remember, may every investment you make be a good one. Till next time.